Well, hello, Joe.
Hello.
Nice to have you on the show.
A pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
So you and I actually are starting to rack up some miles. We've known each other for quite some years now.
Yes. Yeah, it's been some time now.
I think we originally met through Noah McMahon.
I believe so.
And I remember one of the very first events that you were a chef for was the Tony Hawk event in Laguna.
That's right.
That his sister, I think, threw for him.
Yeah, paddock. Yeah, that was a long time ago now. Yeah.
And you did tuna squares served on a Himalayan salt block that was so gorgeous and so tasty. I'm like, who is this guy?
Thank you. You have a good memory.
Yeah, that was an awesome event. And then, of course, I see you at all of Noah's events now, and he does a lot of them. So I know you are his go-to chef for everything.
Fortunately, yeah, I've been pretty fortunate that way. Yeah, thank you.
That's
good
awesome.
Memory on the Himalayan sea salt block. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's gorgeous, too.
Thank you.
And congratulations. You are recently named the champion of Firemasters.
Yes, I'm a Firemasters champion, yes.
Live cooking competition, live fire cooking competition on the Food Network.
Food Network and the Cooking Channel. Yeah.
So are they like related or what's it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So when the Food Network in Canada does something, it airs on the Cooking Channel here in the States.
Okay.
And then they'll pick up the reruns on the Food Network here in the States and do both channels. They're kind of like, they kind of work in concert with each other.
Well, I saw the show and it is super fun. It moves very quickly. I'm stressed out the whole time for you. Like, I like to cook, but I never have to cook under pressure and with a timer going. So what was that like filming that? It
was tough. It was insane. It was the toughest part was just how hot it is, right? It sounds silly, but it's all live fire and the fires are burning so hot. So, you have time constraints with the clock and you have all this mystery basket of ingredients as you move on through the rounds. But then you're just dealing with the elements. You're just dealing with like smoke and fire and heat. So you're trying not to burn stuff. You're trying to create all these wonderful flavors. So it was intense, but it was a lot of fun.
Now, do they require you, because I know you guys have a grilling option and the fire pit option. Do you have to put things in the fire?
No, you don't. But I mean, for me, it was just kind of self-explanatory. Firemasters, use the fire as much as possible. So
and you have a lot of experience with that. So that's kind of your wheelhouse.
It is. Yeah. I love live fire. I mean, that was one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to go in the show and prove myself. But yeah, you're allowed to use the smoker, the grill, the radiant grill, the live fire pit. And my approach was to use it all, but mainly the live fire. Yeah.
So how much do you prepare in advance? Because I know some of the shows, they throw you some unique ingredients, but do you kind of go in having an idea that you know what you're going to cook or not really?
Not really. Yeah. But for myself, Firemasters is unique in the sense that the first round, you're allowed to do your signature dish. Mm-hmm. So I knew what I was going to do for that first round, how the ingredients were going to be there and how they're going to be available to me. I had no idea. The arena, I had no idea. So there's so many elements that I'm really working with, especially a live fire. But that first round was kind of like, show us what you got round, right? Then after that, you're working with all these different ingredients that you don't even know with these mystery baskets. So that becomes a huge challenge as you go.
But the pantry looked like incredible. That was like an incredibly well-stocked pantry. I was like, damn, I'd like to cook in there.
Right. Yeah. The pantry is amazing. But the challenge with anything there is the time. So it's not like you're not shopping, right?
Yeah.
So you see this amazing pantry. I thought the same thing, but it's like, super quick. Yeah. So but as the rounds continued, I start to get to know the pantry a little bit better. But yeah, I just go in there with an open mind and know what I know and just go for it.
Well, it's so funny because when you talk to guys, if I say, oh, do you cook? And everybody's like, well, I grill. And the funny thing is I've actually rarely met a guy that really knows how to grill. Grilling is not an easy cooking method. You really have to be on your game. You have to know what you're doing. You have to understand what overcooks, what undercooks. Even one of the guys on the show, he didn't rest the duck.
That's right.
He cut it too soon. I mean, that's such a simple, here he's a chef and he made a very simple error that really cost him that round. So.
Yeah, you're right. It's tough. It's really hard. The elements are hard and you have to be in the moment. That's the beauty of live fire cooking, is just being in that moment and really understanding and being in tune with that fire. And that's challenging. That takes a lot of practice.
So at home, what is the grill that you prefer?
Ultimately everything's live fire for me. So the grill itself could be as simple as a Weber or just a big cast iron. It could be just a grate with some cinder blocks. It doesn't matter. But lump charcoal or natural wood, just allowing that to burn down to embers. and then the meat, allowing it to just kind of drip naturally and get the natural smoke. That's the flavonoids. That's where all the flavor comes from. So the actual grill itself doesn't matter to me as much as that I'm just doing it over live fire.
What do you think are mistakes that a lot of people make? I mean, what's a common mistake that you see people always making on the grill?
Yeah, I think the number one mistake is that they don't allow the coals or the wood to burn down into just ash, almost ash. Just it shouldn't be smoking naturally. The smoke should be coming from the meat juices and hitting the coals and creating like a natural smoking element. So I think people are just such in a rush to get the food onto the grill, and they don't allow that time to burn down into a bed of just like radiant heat. So that would be the number one thing. Number two would be just kind of flipping and flopping the meat too much or the vegetables too much. You want to just kind of let it do its thing. So, it's definitely hot, but you don't want it too close to the radiant heat. You want it to do its thing and allow time for it to caramelize. So I think those two things, getting a good bed of coal that isn't smoking, and then, creating a distance from the heat so you don't burn anything, allow it to caramelize naturally.
So one of the questions I always have is, when do you close the lid and when do you leave it open?
Right. Yeah. So, sometimes there's not even a lid there. You're not even using a lid. When you want to create an oven, so typically if I'm doing larger cuts of meat or larger vegetables, and I want more of a smoke element and I want it to cook through slow and low, almost like a roast, that's when I would be closing the lid. So it really depends. It could be hot and fast and I'm grilling, there's no lid. It could be a large roast and I want a little bit more of a smoky element, and I'll go slow and low and there'll be a lid. And then when you're using the lid, you're using ventilation to control the smoke and control the heat. So there's so many variables involved, which makes it awesome, really, because you can really put your stamp on it.
Well, you are no stranger to cooking competitions. You are the champion of Chopped, wildly popular cooking competition. You were the 2014 champion.
Yep.
And
that was a while ago now.
So I am so interested. You gotta go back. First of all, how did you get on the show?
I was really fortunate with Chopped. I did a show before Chopped called Eat Street, and it was called The Truck Stops Here. There was a time where I did...
You always have the funniest names on
right, exactly. Yeah. So it was called The Truck Stops Here, and I did a couple of my signature dishes on that show. I did an arancini bolognese. I did this grilled Bianca flatbread. And I was really lucky too, because the Food Network, when that one came out, asked me to submit those recipes to a cookbook that they did for the show. So I actually got published in that Eat Street cookbook for the arancini and the grilled Bianca flatbread. So that aired on the cooking channel, but it was a Food Network cookbook that came out. And so that was really fun to be a part of that. So when I did that show, I kind of got on their radar. So Chopped literally called me, which was awesome. And I thought it was a prank call for a minute. Someone called me and said, "Hey, have you heard of the show Chopped?" And I said, "Yeah, absolutely. Would you like to compete?" Now, of course, this is like the number one show, and I love Chopped. And then it just went from there. And the next thing I know, they sent out a film crew to kind of do my backstory, because Chopped is based in New York. And they sent out a crew. They did my backstory, and then a few months later, I was in New York competing.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really amazing. Yeah, to be selected and to go out and to do it and to win. On top of that, to have that forever to say Chopped champion is really cool.
How many days of filming was it actually?
Total days involved was just a few, but the Chopped show itself, that's live time. Like each round is live, so it only takes a day to do it if you're making it through to the end. They just have to redo the set so that everything is, even Steven.
That's a lot of stress on you, though. They did all of that in a day?
Yeah, you're doing all those rounds in one day. Yeah, so early morning, late night. Yeah, it's fun. It's a lot of fun, but yeah, you definitely have to have some endurance for that day.
Yeah, I was wondering about, because, they make it seem like it's like over a month, or I don't know how long the show goes, but it seems like it's a long time. But in real life, no, you're back to back, which can add a lot of tension and stress.
Yeah, for sure. It's you spend a day doing like your story and stuff so that people get to know you, and then you do all the after interview stuff. But ultimately, when you're competing, it's that day. So all that's happening in a day. So it's just a really, really long day.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of fun still.
Is it really, what's it like between the chefs on the set? I mean, are people really competitive? Are you guys really buddies? Or are people like, get away from me?
Yeah. It's a good question. My show, I was really fortunate. Everybody was really cool. So we all got along. There was a lot of camaraderie. We're rooting each other on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're really, you know, when I went to the last round, for instance, I was going up against Chef Max, and really, really great guy. And you know, we told each other, it's okay, no matter who wins, right? The other person's buying the drink, right? So whoever wins, that person's getting the drink afterwards. And we actually did meet up when the show was over in New York. You know, we picked the time and place, and we said, let's meet up and let's talk and get to know each other even more. And we did so. So it was really cool. But you know, I could definitely see and imagine that there's some shows where, you know, people are really budding. But on mine, it was great. Everybody was really, really cool. It was awesome.
So after the show, after you were crowned the king of Chopped,
Chop Champ.
What kind of impact did that have on your career?
Winning Chopped is really impactful. And the funny thing was, it wasn't even winning so much as I was on the show. The show was so popular that people in general that I came across were just so impressed that I was even on the show. And then I would say, oh, by the way, I won. I'm Chopped Champ. And they're like, oh, whoa. So it was so cool that the show was so impactful for the Food Network and for everyone watching it that people didn't even care if you won or not, right? But it was really impactful because ultimately it just gave me a stamp of approval for people that didn't really know me, right? So I have a long history of being a chef, but if you never knew me or you didn't have a chance to like look at my background, for me just to say, oh, I'm Chopped Champion, they're like, okay, well, you're in, right? You're into whatever it is, whether it be a private event or what have you. So, and in that sense, it made a big impact.
You obviously went on to do Firemasters.
Went on to Firemasters up there, yeah.
So do you like the TV stuff? Could you see yourself doing more of that?
Absolutely. I love the TV stuff. It's super stressful. It's really tough, but it's so exhilarating. And it's so satisfying, you know, to get through that, to really push yourself and to see what you're made of. You know, Firemasters I thought Chopped was the hardest thing I ever to do, cooking wise. But when I did Firemasters, because of the elements and the fire and the heat, it was next to impossible to make it through all that. You know, when I made it to the final round and you have to make 4 different courses in 45 minutes, including a dessert, all live fire. There was moments in that show, in that last round, where I really didn't know if I was going to make it. Yeah. So, you know, to get to yourself to that level and then to push through that is amazing. So, yeah, I love it. And if there's more opportunities that come, I'll definitely take it.
Well, and I don't remember the names of the judges, but the guy seems like he's got some serious street cred. He is quite the grill master.
Yeah,
women, I'm like, I don't know. I think Joe should be the judge of this.
No, they're all really awesome in their own right. Yeah. So yeah, it was, and you know, to battle any of them was definitely going to be a pleasure and an honor, and it was. So I was fortunate. You know, you got to get a little lucky too. I think, you know, you got to make all the right steps when it comes to the timing. So, you know, you just got to let it all go and just go for it. And you know, fortunately for me, I was able to win.
So you're competing against very talented chefs, obviously.
Yes.
It's a very difficult competition. And now you've won 2 in a row. So what do you think it is? What's that little edge that you have? What sets you apart? Why is it that you have been able to be the champion of both of these?
Well, you know, I think one thing that helps me is I've been an avid martial artist my whole life. So I've always pushed myself. I've also been in athletics before martial arts. So, you know, I've always been pushing myself, you know, mind and body to see what I can do, what I'm capable of. So going into the food competitions, I have, you know, a lifetime of cooking. I have a lifetime of martial arts, of trying to push myself. And I think those two worlds come together, and I just let it all go. You know, you have to go into these things with an open mind, an open heart, and not just pigeonhole yourself and say, I'm just going to do this, that, or the other thing. You have to literally just go in there and experience the moment. I think what allows me to do well is just that I'm literally experiencing the moment while I'm actually participating and doing it. So I'm trying to enjoy what's happening while I'm actually doing it. And I think that allows me to flow. Yeah. You know, I think a lot of people like surfers and athletes, etc., they always talk about being in a flow state. And I think that's where I can be. And I think that's my advantage when I'm doing competition in general, and the cooking competitions as well.
Yeah. Well, you have such a you have such a calm personality.
Oh, thank you.
Even on the show, it comes through. Like, you look like you're never losing your cool. You see other guys and they're cursing and they're throwing stuff, and they're also the ones saying, I'm going to win and all this kind of stuff. And you're always just like so composed. You're actually, you can feel that Zen quality come through you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's just basically, I'm trying to be in that Zen moment, just trying to be in the moment. And I think that's, that Zen quality, is just to be in that moment, experience that moment. And if you're doing that, then whatever happens, you can just kind of flow it, go with the flow, really. But if you're just kind of telling yourself, I have to do this is what I have to accomplish, or this is what I have set in my mind, that's challenging when a competition, because there's so many variables. There's no way that you could predict what's happening at that moment.
Right. So you have deep roots in Orange County. You've been here, although you're originally from New York. You've been in Orange County, I think, since you were 16?
That's right. Yeah. Originally New Yorker, came out to California when I was 16, and I love it out here. I love California. Mainly the weather is what brought me here originally, because New York weather is really tough. But yeah, I've been chefing here in Orange County for quite some time now.
Well, let me tell you, California loves you too.
Oh, thank you.
I just wanted to read a list of some of the restaurants, because I thought I knew your work pretty well, but I was even surprised to see how many restaurants. So you started at the Saratoga Grill.
Yep.
Went on to the Ritz-Carlton.
Yes.
And what was your title at the Ritz-Carlton?
I was the banquet chef.
Banquet chef.
Yeah.
Went on to Chat Noir.
Yep.
Promoted to corporate chef for Culinary Adventures.
Correct.
With our good friend David Wilhelm.
Yes.
Went on to be the head chef at the Savannah Chop House as well, right? And then cooking competitions came about, all sorts of craziness. And now, of course, you are at Western Hospitality.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So exactly. Yeah. That was all the past years of my life, just in a snapshot for sure. And now I'm with Western Hospitality. So with Western Hospitality, I do private events, private chef, live fire cooking, all that private sector work, which is amazing, which is a lot of what I love to do. I'm also the National Culinary Director for Western Golf Properties, which is a part of Western Hospitality. So I travel all over the United States, and I do the food and beverage for all these wonderful properties that we manage, which is a lot of fun. And then also I have Smore Burgers, which is a gourmet burger place that we just opened up in the middle of the pandemic, because why not, right? So we do artisanal gourmet burgers that are influenced from all over the globe. Everything from scratch, fries from scratch, dipping sauces from scratch. We have our two locations, Irvine and Santa Ana, and that's going well. So really excited about that, and hoping to grow that brand and see where we can take that. But yeah, so and while all that's happening, still hope for more TV stuff. So we'll see how it goes. I still want to be Bobby Flay, so that might be something that I look out for.
So grilling and chilling?
Grilling and chilling, right, exactly. That's an old one for Bobby Flay. But yeah, I still have my sights set on some TV stuff. So we'll see, we'll see what comes across my table, and then we'll go from there.
Awesome. So if I were to go to Smore Burgers, which one should I order?
Ooh, that's a tough one. They're all good, right? So they're all our signature burgers. My personal favorite, so we just got written up on the Irvine Weekly and Orange County Register for our umami bomb. So that one is just ultimate savoriness. Everything umami is in there. Slow roasted tomato, mushroom, truffle aioli, Swiss cheese. So everything that, and we one of the things that I take a lot of pride in is we ferment our own black garlic. So for 192 hours, we take garlic and we ferment it, and we put that in a ton of stuff. Our bacon jam, our aiolis, different marinades.
What does fermenting garlic do?
So it intensifies the flavor. It almost gives it like a molasses balsamic flavor. It's like molasses, balsamic, and roasted garlic all came together. It also makes it super healthy, and it takes away like that compound that would make garlic kind of come through your pores and smell. So it's super healthy, extremely flavorful, and you don't have to worry about smelling like garlic. So we incorporate that into like our bacon jam that we make with a ton of red wine. That's in that burger as well. So that is a great, but probably my favorite one on the menu is the Peruvian pork belly burger. And the irony is, probably what a lot of people don't know is that is the first round on Firemasters. That's the same thing I did, but in a version of a burger. So Firemasters was more of like a fine dining version of it with the pork belly and the sweet potato and the sarsaparilla and all this.
And everybody was thinking, why is he doing that? Because you had to like poke holes in it to get it to cook faster.
That's right. Yeah, I use a jacquard, to tenderize it and to cook faster and get the marinade in there. So that was my little trick to get that pork belly going in such a quick time. That same dish is literally the Peruvian pork belly burger at Smore Burgers, but on our certified Angus beef. So that one I would say is probably my favorite. The umami bomb is it's a must try, but our number one seller always is our classic Cali, which I always tell people is just like that old school classic Americana, fresh tomato, lettuce, all that. But because we make our own special sauce and we do like this caramelized onions for several hours, and we have this amazing artisanal bun that we put our own garlic butter on and toast, all these different elements, we try to pay attention to those details so the burgers come together and they're just really tasty in my opinion.
Oh my God, you're making me so hungry.
Oh, thank you. We get a lot of great feedback. Yeah, we're getting, people are like genuinely like, whoa, these are so good. And that's super cool. Like you can really feel the love coming. Like people are super into it. So it's awesome.
Do you guys use any of the delivery services?
As far as, DoorDash, DoorDash. Yeah, DoorDash.
Oh my God, my favorite.
So,
I feel lunch coming on, kids. Watch out.
Yeah.
All right. So we gotta talk because I know you clearly had a very long working relationship with David Wilhelm.
I did.
David may be the most prolific restaurateur in Orange County. I think I can be fairly confident in saying that.
Right.
So what was it like working under David?
It was great. Yeah, he's super detail orientated. He definitely knows his food. He definitely knows what he's looking for. So yeah, it was a great experience, and I learned a lot. And
do you like French cooking? Because a lot of his restaurants were French inspired.
Yeah, absolutely. Chat Noir at the time was, in my opinion, definitely one of the most beautiful restaurants ever.
Gorge.
Just
so
really
beautiful.
Amazing. And once again, the attention to detail from the front of the house to the back of the house. And there was definitely no expense spared as far as quality of ingredients. Just using real artisanal French ingredients. We definitely stayed true to form. So it was amazing. I had a lot of amazing chefs that came out of there that we still stay in contact and we worked together over the years. And it was great to be a part of it. It was such a big restaurant. We did so much food and so with such amazing ingredients. So it was a great experience for me. It was awesome.
Yeah. Have you been to Tavern House?
Long time ago. Yeah. No, I don't get out much. Yeah. I don't get out much. I'm always cooking. So yeah, I did a long time ago. Great spot.
He makes a good burger. My son said to me that he thought that was the best burger, and I'm like, dang,
that's awesome.
That's a good. Well, he hasn't been to Smore Burgers.
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
We're gonna have to go check it out. Take a field trip.
Yeah, exactly. Give Smore Burgers a try, and then let me know for sure.
What are your favorite? I mean, obviously you probably cook for yourself. I mean, do you cook at home?
No, I don't. No, I really. I don't cook at home at all. Yeah, I'm pretty fortunate. My girlfriend's a cook as well. Mm-hmm. So she cooks a ton. She does a lot of like meal prep for us and all that for the kids and for myself. So that's awesome. I'm really fortunate. But no, it's just my kids, they love sushi. So it's a lot of sushi, and I don't, that's not my forte. So it's not like I'm breaking down and starting making rolls at home. So that's just, I don't do a lot of cooking at home, but.
And when you eat out, what are your favorite restaurants in Orange County?
Well, so I got to plug my friends, right? Mm-hmm. So my Break of Dawn, Chef D. Nguyen, amazing spot. Yvonne Getz. So Kurt, I think he's moving, if I'm not mistaken, but currently he's in Laguna Niguel area. Okay. So he does kind of like a brunch spot, and he's a Ritz-Carlton alumni too. So that's where I originally met. Yvonne Getz, another Ritz-Carlton alumni. He has the winery restaurants. Amazing spots, amazing chef. Love it. So those would be the two places just to plug my friends. But for me, I'm pretty easy. I just, local places just around me, whatever the kids are into. Yeah.
I mean, do you like Mexican food? Do you like Italian food? Do you have a preference?
I love it all. I'll probably just stick with what the kids want with sushi.
Yeah.
Probably because it's just so unadulterated and like not cooked and raw, and it's just about simplicity. So everything I do, there's a lot of layers and complexity and all these different influences. And when you're having sashimi or sushi, it's just quality of ingredient, the fish, and just simple. And I love that aspect. I don't have to think too much. I can just enjoy it. It's not something that I do, so I'm not like sitting there trying to like, break it down or anything like that. I just get to enjoy. So yeah, probably just a ton of sushi.
Do you find yourself being really critical at restaurants? You go in and go, I could make this so much better.
That's so funny.
They overcooked this. There's too much salt. I mean, you probably can't help it.
Yeah, a little bit. But I over the years, I've learned to enjoy it and just not do that.
Yeah.
You just say, you know what, I'm hungry and I'm just going to eat. Yeah. And that's it, right? So, ultimately, if someone stops me and says, hey, what do you think? And I'm like, oh, now I'm starting to break it down in my head.
Yeah.
But most of the time, I just learn how to enjoy it, no matter at what level it is. So I try not to. I just try to enjoy what it is.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, Joe. Well, we do a little thing here on Delphine Single called the Big Question.
Okay.
So I want to find out a little about what makes you tick. Give me a hint of what your daily consistent routines are.
For sure, my morning starts with stretching. Like, I have not left the house in I don't know how many years, my entire adulthood, stretching. So I do about 45 minutes to an hour of stretches.
45 minutes to an hour? Wow,
yeah,
you take it seriously.
Yeah, for sure. And let's say if I have to be somewhere at 4 a.m., that means I'm waking up at 3 a.m. Like, the stretches happen. I will not be leaving the house without stretches. And then it doesn't sound like much, but it's something for me. About 15 minutes on Max Trainer. I have like the little Bowflex thing. So it's like a little stair stepper thing, just to get some cardio in, just to know that I have something in, as far as cardio. So yeah, every morning, hour stretches, 15 minutes on my stair stepper thing, and then off to the rest of my day.
Yeah. Well, and your day is physically demanding. I mean, the job of a chef is you're on your feet, You're working long hours, hot, so I bet you have to be careful about not burning yourself out with too much exercise in the morning. Yeah,
exactly. That's why I like the stretches. Yeah, you need to keep that energy. I definitely wouldn't be able to do a couple of hours of high intensity stuff and then have the energy for the rest of the day. But the irony with exercise in general is that it gives you energy. So I think if you find that balance of some light stretches and some light cardio, and maybe some light resistance training, the irony is that it'll give you more energy than if you just start your day without it, in my opinion. So yeah, I have to do that. That's my ritual.
Wow.
And a lot of coffee too. So.
Well, my next question is, tell me something that people would be surprised to know about you. But that alone, I'm already surprised that you do an hour of stretching. Yeah,
I think just because I'm just known for being a chef and I've been in the industry so long, what people would be surprised to know is that I actually built high-performance race motorcycles for about 6-7 years.
Whoa!
Yeah, exactly. See, you're surprised. I knew it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did in my early 20s. I took a break from cooking. I grew up in the industry, but when I got to my early 20s, I ended up going to Arizona and going to a motorcycle tech school out there. Did really well. Came back to California and started building Japanese race bikes. Yeah, it was awesome. I did it for almost 7 years. I even worked for Yamaha Motor Corporation for about a year as well, after I was doing all the aftermarket stuff. Then I went back into cooking Saratoga Grill, where we picked up on my food history. So yeah, that chunk of early 20s to late 20s, I was building race bikes.
Now, were you doing that thinking that you wanted to get out of the cooking business altogether? Or was this something that was just an interest in kind of more of a hobby? Or?
Well, yeah, I didn't really... I've never pigeonholed myself into one thing or another. I never said I'm only going to be a chef and I'm only going to be this or that. So I just love motorcycles. Mm-hmm. Motorcycles. So food, motorcycles, and martial arts. Like, those are like my three biggest areas, my three biggest passions, if you would. So I've always done all of that. So yeah, I was just kind of expressing myself of the passion that I was into motorcycles. And to me, there was no better way of expressing that and like just knowing it inside and out, literally, like building these motorcycles from scratch. So yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, and that a lot of people would be surprised to know that.
Yeah. Tell me about a book that has influenced you.
So many books. It's almost impossible to say one book that's influenced me the most. I read every day. If I could read all day, I would, but I just start passing out, So I read a ton of cookbooks. I love to see different chefs' perspectives on ingredients and their directions, not necessarily for recipes. I other than baking, I don't even know if I've ever followed a recipe in my life. But just for direction and understanding of how other chefs think, it's really amazing. I read a ton of philosophy books on Eastern philosophy because I'm a martial artist. So a lot of books on Zen Buddhism and the way samurais think. There's an amazing book called the Hagakure. I love reading stuff like that. Bruce Lee was a big influence in my life. I've read all his books. Mostly they're about martial arts exercises, but he has a really great book called Jeet Kune Do, which is his philosophy. So yeah, it's almost impossible just to say one book, but ton of all the stuff that I'm into, I just read all the time.
So do you think, because, I always believe that there's it's people's thought processes that help them to become successful. Do you think that those types of philosophies that you're reading have helped to propel you to the success level that you've reached?
Absolutely. Yeah. It helps you get to a certain mindset. So there's all these amazing thinkers and philosophers and, all these amazing chefs that, they've been doing it forever. And, to have a different understanding on what someone else's perspective is, and for you to have the luxury of just opening a book and reading that and understanding that and be able to reflect on that is awesome. I mean, books are amazing to be able to, because you're not going to be able to have that many conversations, or spend that much time and meet all these different people. So books allow that to happen. But yeah, it definitely gets in you, especially if you reflect on that. And absolutely, yeah, it's been huge input in my life and influence in my life.
I love that. So I have one, but I'm going to ask you, if somebody was just going to buy one cookbook, assuming that they're not a chef,
yeah.
To have as a reference book in their pantry, what cookbook would you recommend?
Ooh, that's a tough one. That's almost impossible to. That is impossible to answer. I always think
top three.
Right, exactly, top three. I'll stick to one. So I think that Thomas Keller, is obviously someone that name's brought up all the time in any cooking circle. And there's so many amazing chefs all over the world. And, it's almost impossible for me to say one book or even three books or one chef or three chefs. But, I've always loved grabbing, his books, whether it be the French Laundry or Ad Hoc or Bouchon. And it's just, even the books themselves, the attention to detail is just so amazing, right? And for someone to be so dedicated to the perfection of what he's doing, it's so admirable, right? So I love looking at those books, reading those books over and over again. Even if you weren't into French cooking, even if you weren't even into cooking that much, they're amazing. So I would have to say that if somebody wanted to see the ultimate expression of what food could be, as far as just being, attention to detail, ingredient driven, respect for what you're trying to accomplish, then probably that's what I would tell them to go down that path. Yeah. And then from there, you can just kind of start to branch off.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
So I saw Thomas Keller on the masterclass and was so struck by what a Zen, very poised person he is. Actually, he's almost somewhat soft-spoken. It's the total opposite of what you would see from, what's his name? The loud chef.
Gordon
Ramsay. He did a masterclass too, which was really, really fun too. And I don't know if you know, but our past guest, Scott Palazzo, the award-winning winemaker, he's got his wines at all of Thomas Keller's restaurant. And in fact, he got a call from Thomas Keller who asked him to make a wine specifically for the French Laundry. I
know that because I watched your episode.
Oh, so, good.
Yeah, so I do know. Cool? Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's super cool. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, if I would have gotten a call from Thomas Keller, I think I would have been pretty blown away too.
Yeah, I only met him once, and it was like a book signing, and he signed the book. It's all about the memories, right? So food is invoking memories, and he's so true. I mean, to really make a connection with people, to really be impactful with your food, is to invoke those memories. So I thought that was amazing.
Did you meet him before or after the Chopped win?
It was so long ago. Geez, you know what? It was before.
It was before.
Yeah, it was before. Yeah.
Too bad because you could have been like, well, I won Chopped.
Right, so. Exactly.
You might be Thomas Keller, but I am the champion of Chopped.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
All right. So tell me, coming off of 2020, we have so many issues facing the world. Is there an issue that is foremost in your mind, or what do you think is some of the biggest issues that we're facing?
Yeah, I think ultimately, I mean, there's obviously there's a ton going on in the world right now, but I think mental health would be the biggest one, right? Because that kind of encapsulates everything, because someone's perspective is everything.
Yeah.
No matter what's happening in the world, how you take it in and, how you deal with that is everything, right? It's your vantage point, is how you see the world. So yeah, I think that mental health's the biggest thing. And I think ultimately, and people need to just focus more on that and how to find that balance in their life. So that way it's just a more positive spin for everyone.
Is that a subject that's touched your family?
Yeah. And, I think everyone, I think to be human, right, is, they're not my family specifically, but I think everyone's family. So I think everyone has to deal with that and work on that and make sure that they're finding that happy place.
I love that. Yeah, super. Tell me something that you used to believe, but you don't anymore.
Santa Claus.
Don't say that in front of the kids, man.
Right, exactly. Yeah. No, all right. I'm sorry, kids. Yeah, no, it's funny. Really, I used to believe in Santa Claus when I was younger. So I thought about that when I was a kid. And now that it was funny too, because my father at one point tried to convince me that it was still real. So he had like his friend dress up and all that. So he kept the dream alive for me. But yeah, I just think I know I'm being silly with it, but yeah, Santa Claus, I'm gonna stick with that.
All right. Tell me a goal that you've yet to reach.
225 pounds. That's trying to reach that weight goal. I ultimately, when I was younger, I wanted to be in the Olympics at one point. I wrestled, and that was a goal that I set for myself really early on in life. And, because of an injury and because of, didn't get lucky with it, just didn't work out. So, but I still love, the idea of that. So I've always tried to push for different things in my life that I can get to different goals. When my Olympic dreams just went away really early on, I just stayed with martial arts. So I got a black belt in Eagle Claw Kung Fu. I got a black belt in Gracie Baja Jiu Jitsu. So it just kind of materialized itself differently for me. So I just pushed myself in other ways that way. And then, my weight goals have always been a goal for me. I've always been a big guy. So I've always been pushing for that, less body fat, more lean muscle, eating better. So I've yet to achieve my weight goals, but I'm still going to keep pushing.
Yeah. Well, it's something that so many people, I don't know anybody that doesn't really think about that or what's their best and optimal health. So
sure.
And it's an issue that hits the food industry, right? Because we're always trying to find ways to make our food more healthy and leaner and all of that. So it's good to know that you're conscientious of that. Big
time. Yeah. I think unfortunately your body hits a set point, and my set point is big. So I'm always kind of like counterbalancing that with, trying to eat as healthy as I can and try to exercise as much as I can. And like I said, being conscientious of it, you just can't let it go entirely or else forget about it, right? Yeah. So I'm always pushing for that.
So, and I got to ask, are those Vans you're wearing?
Yes, these are Vans I'm wearing.
I don't know if you saw the Doug Palladini interview, but he talked about chefs and how one of the reasons why they wanted to create a shoe specifically for chefs was because they believe that the mind and artist mentality of a chef is very much in line with the type of mentality that surfers and skaters, and it's an artistic, it's about achieving. And so when you came in with Vans, I'm like, Doug would be so happy.
That's awesome.
Do a lot of your guys wear Vans in the kitchen?
No, I think, in the kitchen mostly. Well, outside the kitchen, yes. Mm-hmm. But in the kitchen, you're wearing like non-slip shoes and more like clogs and Crocs and things that are meant for the kitchen for like grease resistant and all that stuff. But yeah, I'm pretty much always in Vans. Vans and Olokai, slip on, easy. Those are my go-to. But yeah, I agree with that statement. I think that everyone that's kind of more of a creative mind are going to have like-minded things, from surfers, tattoo artists, just graphic artists in general, chefs, etc. Yeah. And I think everyone that I know probably wears Vans. So there's something to be said for that too.
Yep. So let's talk about the restaurant industry took a huge hit in 2020, obviously. Mm-hmm. I hear reports that like 110,000 restaurants closed across the United States, something like 10% of the total restaurants closed.
Yep.
Do you see this now, starting 2021, as an opportunity for people, or do you think it's still a scary time to be in the restaurant business?
Yeah, well, frankly, it's always a scary time to be in the restaurant industry. Yeah, seriously, you're working with really razor thin margins. You have to get lucky sometimes. It's just a tough industry because it requires you to be all in all the time. So it just eats people up. And then at the end of the day, there's not really a ton of margin that you're taking away or taking home for that instance. So, for things to happen like it happened last, year or so, just to make it tougher, it's made it almost impossible. It's just your higher food cost, higher labor cost, less foot traffic, less people, going out to eat. It just makes it even that much more challenging. But I think regardless of what's happening in the world, the restaurant industry and hospitality industry is just going to be a real tough industry. You have to just be all in, laser focused, no matter what.
It's a difficult business to make money in, that's for sure, right?
Yeah, if you're in it just solely for money, then it's going to be really tough, right? You have to have a passion for it. You have to have a vision. You have to kind of see yourself, being in this industry. It's almost a lifestyle, if you will. And then at the end of the day, it's a business. You have to make money, right? So you're always pushing for that and trying to figure out the best ways to do so.
You didn't go to culinary school.
No, I never went to culinary school. Yeah, I grew up in the industry. My father's a chef, and he still has a old school Italian American restaurant back east in New York. And he's still, working 6-7 days a week, and it's just that neighborhood, everything Parmesan spot, tons of garlic. So I grew up from literally, a baby all the way through. I've always been in the restaurant industry and just self-taught. But I use that term self-taught loosely because I've had so many mentors. So you're not really self-taught. You have all these amazing chefs that you're around. And, I've literally read every cookbook there is, so I'm always studying. I'm always the consummate student. I always feel like I don't know enough. I always feel like I need to know a lot more. So yeah, just every day I'm just studying and trying to learn.
Now, you obviously must work alongside of chefs that have gone to culinary school. If there's somebody that was wanting to get, into the culinary industry and wanting to be a chef, wanting to be the next Joe Youkhan, would you recommend culinary school, or what is your thoughts about that?
Yeah, no, I think culinary school is awesome. These schools have amazing chefs that are teaching all these great techniques, and they're all using great curriculum and great materials, textbooks, etc. So I think that what culinary school gives you is a jump start, a head start, where it would take many, many years to learn. I think if someone had the ability that could afford them, because they're not cheap, I think if someone had the ability to afford a culinary school and that's what they wanted to do to kind of get that jump start, it's amazing. I think that's great. I just think that ultimately you could probably learn the same amount from a culinary school as you can on the job if you were to literally spend night and day studying and just working your way through a ton of restaurants and spending many years dedicated to getting that base foundation. So I think the culinary schools help a foundation, which is hard to get. But you can get it without culinary school. But yeah, I think they're awesome.
Orange County gets a lot of criticism for maybe not having a diverse enough restaurants. When you go to other places, and there seems to be a lot more and a lot new. And I remember, there's been some talk that other chefs are not helping each other get along. Are you finding that, or what would you like to see change in the Orange County culinary scene?
I think at one point the Orange County scene was kind of to where you're leading into, but I think now it's way different. Okay. Yeah, now it's super diverse. Now there's amazing chefs like Amar Santana doing great things with his whole global eatery and all his restaurants. I think he brought a lot to the scene when he came on. Back in the day with Charlie Palmer. And I think that now it's different. Now I think Orange County has a scene. I think there's great restaurants and people doing amazing things, and everyone gets along. I mean, I know like almost every chef in Orange County, right? And and we talk, and we don't get to hang out too much unless there's like an event going on. But we talk and we text and we stay in touch. So it's different now. It's awesome now.
We have the Pacific Food and Wine event coming up in October, I think.
Yeah, unfortunately, I just heard that it canceled.
Oh, no.
Yeah, because of
postponed.
Exactly. I should say postponed, not canceled. Yeah.
So you've been involved. I see you at a lot of those events. Are those fun, or they seem like a lot of work? Is there positive impact that comes out of that for a chef?
Yeah, I think for a chef, we get to hang out with our other chef buddies, right? That's like the biggest reason.
That's the biggest plus.
That's the biggest plus, is you get to catch up and get to see what other chefs are doing, and get to try other things. And so there's a lot of camaraderie there. For me, those events are obviously the biggest opportunity to have as many people that may not know you get to know you.
Okay.
Right? To get to see you one-on-one, get exposure, right? You get to taste your food, get to meet who you are, because you're just kind of taking a moment and saying, okay, I'm going to engage with you. Here's my food. Here's who I am. Kind of what we're doing right now, but it's throughout the entire day. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a wonderful opportunity to do that. Yeah. Besides that, like I said, it's a good time to catch up with old friends.
So what can we expect from Joe Youkhan moving forward? I mean, tell me your ultimate dream. If you could have the highest possible, goal for yourself, what would that be?
Yeah, it's tough. I've never really been someone that said, okay, this is my goal, and then I have to get there, and then I'm happy. I think for me, as long as I'm improving and getting better professionally as a person every day, that's my ultimate goal, is just to be a better person tomorrow than I am right now today. As a chef, it's amazing to be a part of, different concepts and different ideas. Smore Burgers is something I'm super proud of. And, I'd love to see that grow, because our attention to detail in a burger is intense. So, I'd love to see that grow to as many,
multiple locations.
Yeah, exactly. To be everywhere, really, because I'm so proud of it. And I think ultimately every chef's dream in general is to have that small little place where, it's just a handful of seats where you're doing whatever you want to do. And, guests are coming in and loving it daily, and you're just kind of parking it, right? That would be awesome, to always have that one little place that could be your ultimate expression of whatever it is that you want to do. But it's already tough making no money in the industry. To have that place make money is even harder. Right. But yeah, for me, it's get better every day. I love trying to grow concepts, and Smore Burgers is my baby right now, trying to grow that. And then, maybe one day I'll have that little off the beaten path spot where I'm just kind of cooking whatever I want.
I love it. Thanks so much, Joe.
Oh, thank you.
Awesome time having you on the show.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
And
Thank you.
I'm rushing right out right now to Smore Burgers.
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much. A pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Delphine Circle. If you enjoyed the episode, please check out our last two. And remember to like, comment, and subscribe. I'm Delphine. Welcome to my circle.